At the start of 2023, I was so optimistic. So many new and exciting things were happening in my life at the time. I had just moved into my new home. I was carrying the momentum of starting this YouTube channel, showcasing my game OmniGear, a game that I created for a game jam earlier the previous year. I knew that there was going to be some pitfalls and some things that I didn't expect, especially since I was a new homeowner. Though, to me, the future was looking bright. But what happened was I had what was arguably the worst year of my life so far by a mile. Home issues, career stability problems, and sadly getting laid off twice. Hey, my name is Charles McGregor, and if you're new here, I am working on a game called OmniGear, a multiplayer brawler where you create robots and battle your friends. Sorry to start out on such a bummer note, but like I mentioned, I was so optimistic at the start of 2023, but with good reason. So let's recap what I did end up doing after my last devlog. One of the first things I did was work on some new parts that players could choose, from different jump abilities to various accessories. I was hoping to test and see what types of parts help with player expression, one of those pillars I talked about previously. But shortly after, I knew that there was another aspect of my game that I had been putting off for a while: the art style. I had a general vibe of what I was going for in my head, PS1 era, but modernized. But that was about it. So I made some plans to do some research and make some strides in that respect. But unfortunately, this is where we have to put a pin in that, because this is where the bad reared its ugly head. It started out in a very strange way with, of all things, snakes. Now, I live in Minnesota, a land you wouldn't think that this would be a problem, but well, here I am with them in my basement. But before I get ahead of myself, these were just gardener snakes, so nothing dangerous. But they were, and spoilers, continue to be numerous. I'm sitting at well over 400 so far. Yeah. Then I got hit with the big one. For my main job, I was hit with layoffs where our entire team was shuttered and closed its doors. There are so many reasons why this one really hurts, but above all is I love working with our team. This was slightly earlier on in the trend of game studios being shut down that sadly continue at the time of this recording. As you can imagine, my priorities weren't on working on OmniGear. I was trying to find some financial stability, which after a small gap from when we were told as a team we were laid off, I was extremely fortunate to land another job through a friend of mine. But then Unity happened. To briefly catch you up to speed if you don't know, Unity is a game engine that I use for my own personal projects, including OmniGear, as well as other contract work. The controversy started when Unity was planning on instituting a new policy that would have retroactively forced developers to pay them for using their platform, even though those were not the terms that the developer agreed to in the first place. Even if you made a game with Unity from 10 years ago and have since moved on, you'd still be on the hook for these fees. Fees that in some cases would just tank entire companies under the guise of a new policy that no one agreed to. Needless to say, there was a ton of backlash, like a ton of backlash. But how this is relevant to me is, well, I use Unity. I love using Unity. I've been using it for almost 13 years now. I've built my career with it, spent so much effort in learning how to best use the program. I've taught and encouraged others to use it. I've even done a talk with Unity the year before, which was a huge deal to me. That is all to say, Unity burns all goodwill was not on my bingo card. I was really concerned about my prospects of using Unity or getting a job as a Unity programmer after my new contract was up in a few years. Well, good news, I didn't have to wait that long. About 4 months after getting laid off from my first job, I was laid off again. Now, before I go any further, this wasn't the same situation as before. This is a weird one that was still unexpected, but I don't begrudge the team or anything. I wish them well in finishing the game, but unfortunately, that still means that I was out of a job. Which brings up something that was simmering all this time. I was burnt out. I had been in a funk for a while, where something that I've never experienced before happened. I didn't want to make games. I had to force myself to make progress on various games and projects, which brings me back to figuring out the art style for OmniGear. I truly didn't know what style I wanted, and I didn't have a direction that I wanted to go other than PS1 graphics modernized. Because it was so amorphous, I delayed and procrastinated on figuring it out. And when I did try, I got nowhere due to me having no direction. This mindset extended into just making the art, where I haven't 3D modeled in years, and I wasn't good at it to begin with. So when I attempted to do some modeling on stream, I felt pretty uncomfortable not knowing what I was doing and looking like a fool. Listen, I've started and stopped this video so many times throughout the past 2 years. This video could have been so many things that I'm only scratching the surface on when it comes to how bad of a year these past 2 have been. I wanted this video to be a symbolic turning point for me personally, where things would magically get better and I'd start to get over my burnout. And I think that's part of the reason why this video has taken so long. I wanted it to be a certain way where I would come back and say, I have a ton of updates on OmniGear to share. But the sad fact is I don't. But I'm not letting that stop me anymore. Right. So where does that leave me now? Honestly, I'm still working through a lot of those bad things that happened. Like, for instance, I'm still dealing with snakes. But I want to get back into the swing of things. Taking some time to recoup has really helped me with working past my bout of burnout. Because fortunately, I wasn't completely idle throughout these past few years, as I've been working on various projects. Some of these are just prototypes and ultimately won't see the light of day, but others I'm excited to share and talk about in both the near and the far future. Because truly, these latest projects have meant more to me than meets the eye. Also, because it took so long to make this video, I could talk about more projects than I thought I would. So yeah. And don't think that I forgot about OmniGear and all this. I'm getting back into the swing of things, working on those aspects that mentally blocked me, like the art style. I'm not gonna lie, I know that it is going to take some time getting used to learning in public like I am, getting over the fact that I need to look smart all the time. But that is one of the reasons why I started this channel, is to show that you don't need to have everything figured out from jump. It's okay to make mistakes, not to be sure of everything, test things out. I want to show both the ups and the downs of development. I just wish that I didn't need to make this more personal video, not so early in my development journey, but sometimes that's just how it is. Like I said at the beginning of this video, these past 2 years have been arguably the worst stretch in my life so far for numerous reasons. But I've been reminded of something that I used to say all the time. I need to step back, breathe, and survey what is going on. Because unless the situation is extremely time sensitive, down to minutes, being in a state of I must always move forward can lead you to missing the bigger picture, making small problems seem large, making big problems seem impossible, and always being stressed out throughout all of it. Sometimes life happens, and it is okay to take some time to deal with life. But I'm hopeful that I can learn from this experience for the future. Regardless of all that, I'm excited to get back to it because I've missed this.